Hey, absent-minded gamer here. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 10 by Random Airports and Airfields. This week we're going to be taking a trip back in time, and we're going to go back and take a look at post-Cold War Russia. So we're going to take a look at some airfields, air bases that no longer exist, and most of which are only going to be found by coordinates at this point. So we're going to just jump right in. I've been sitting on this one for a while, and I just thought I would finally get to it. Because I find the one we're looking at, I find this one the most interesting. So let's just go. Alright, so the first one we're looking at is called Aspidnoy. I know I'm going to butcher these names, so just bear with me. The first one, it's in a region called Dresba and Krumaya. But anyways, this particular base existed from 1960 to 1973. It was a known bomber base and had been flagged as a bomber base by the CIA. The runway itself was 11,483 feet. Now, Flight Simulator, you could see the outlines of what used to be the runway. And if you look at this on Google Earth, it looks pretty much the same. You can see where there was a road, and that was probably the base was probably down over here. What I found interesting about this one is that there's hardly, there's nothing left here. It is totally devoid of what used to be a base. You can just barely make out the runway and the roads leading in from where I'm assuming the base of operations probably was. But Flight Simulator does tell a lot here, and it actually does show this would have been the main road. To the actual base. And I believe the runway was here. I think. Or that's the runway. Well, you're looking at an 11,000 foot runway. And it would have probably the Tu-116 Bears would have been, yeah, right there's your runway. That's another taxiway there. This actually shows up much better now than it did when I was first looking at it, because it had the winter terrain. So if you follow the road from there, there is what looks, from some of the pictures that I was looking at, it looks like that there had been buildings right about here at some point. And then there's this that I noticed. I actually just noticed this. Look at the square. It's almost a perfect square. So that had to have been a building at some point. I mean, that has to be the foundation. I mean, it looks man-made. So that's pretty cool. So as I said before, this base was in operation from 1960 to 1973. And was known as a bomber base by the CIA. I remember those years well. One of the things that always kind of freaked me out as a kid was the movie The Day After. I think that's the name of the movie, where the day after the bomb was dropped. That movie Yeah, I mean, I saw that. I remember that came out. I think I was in grade school, and that movie just scared the crud out of me. That was a totally different time. See, there's what used to be structures there also. Interesting. All right, well, let's move on to the next, shall we? Alright, so next up is going to be Smyrnik Airport. This would have been an air base during the Cold War. It was actually in service from 1945 to 1994. And I believe it's still a civilian airport because it's listed as civilian. But this particular base was actually built by the Japanese during World War II. And it was called Kitan. So that's really interesting piece of history. And we're on an island off the east coast of Russia. So again, it's it would have been the USSR, putting you out in the Pacific Ocean. So this was pretty interesting looking, and you can still see much of the structure is still there. And you can see where the taxiways and the airport is modeled in Flight Simulator, so that's really interesting. And there is quite a bit to look at here. And there's no, this is all default. There is no added scenery to this tonight. This is all just by default. This would have been where they parked the fighter jets, bombers, and whatnot. The runway itself is 8,092 feet. And it also has so you still have quite a bit of infrastructure here as far as the base, what it would have been used for. You have large structures over here where the taxiways would have stretched all the way out over here to what probably were hangars at some point, hardened hangars. And then if you look a little harder, there's other structures buried into the scenery. Like here, this would have probably been the base right here. This would be an interesting one to see in real life. And here you can make out the hardened hangars right there, and the old taxiways, the old Russian style taxiways, or Soviet, I should be saying. And the airfield is near the town of Smyrnik. I'm guessing that's how you say it. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it. Looks like there was a structure there at some point. That give you an idea of where we're at. Bring up the, yeah, there you go. This is actually a USMI, Union Sam Mary Ida. Zoom out there. This would be Russia over here. This is the island off of Russia. What I find interesting is I don't see like the outline of old Russian or Soviet planes, jets. I mean, usually you see that kind of stuff, and I'm not seeing it anywhere here. This would have been a pretty big operation, I think. Alright, well, let's move on to the next one. Alright, so next up is going to be Bayantal Air Base. And this base operated from 1970 to 1990. It was a frontline defense against any kind of attack from China against the USSR. And what I find interesting about this one is that there is so much left of it. And there's so much left of it in Flight Simulator to look at. So that's really kind of cool. Now, it is very possible that I've covered this one in the past, and if I have, I apologize, but I just think it deserves more attention. So we're gonna take a look and see what we can see. Now, I don't have a runway length on this one, but there is your main runway. It's a pretty good sized runway. Lots of abandoned buildings and other it's just a really interesting place to look at. Then if you go down off of this road here, we'll do that after we take a look down here some more. And there's your, would be your hardened hangars there. You can just barely make them out. There's another one. This would be a really interesting place to see in real life, I think. So if you look off in that direction, you'll see a small village. There is another airport off in that general direction called Manit. And I'm assuming that is probably what the village name is also. But what's really kind of interesting here is that you see all the old road structure. This probably would have been the main headquarters building, because they obviously had some kind of decoration there marking the headquarters building. That's interesting. And then you take this road back towards town, and I've seen pictures of these buildings over here. These would have been the barracks or housing for the base troops, pilots and whatnot. And this is all abandoned from what I've seen in photos. And obviously the buildings don't really look like that, but you get the idea. There's also to the entrance of... There's a really cool picture of the entrance to this base. And it has a jet sitting on being held up in the air, marking the entrance to the base, but I don't remember where it's at. And I want to say it's past here. I want to say it's out over here somewhere. But anyways. You see that? Looks... There was a guard shack there, it looks like. And one way in, one way out. But it is, nonetheless, it is an impressive location. Alright, well, hey, that's going to do it for being tall. If you want to see actual pictures of this base, just Google it, and you'll find pictures. There's some really good, not vlogs. There's some really good sites with really good pictures. Just go check them out. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so next up is going to be Kalinka Airfield. This particular air base, I don't have any dates for it, but I do know that it did shut down in 2009 as a military base and is now a civilian airfield. This airfield is now referred to as Blagod Atnoy. And I know I'm going to butcher that. And I can get it to roll off my tongue when I'm not recording, but when I'm recording, for some reason, I can't get that word out. So we're going to just call it UHK1, okay? So looking at it, it is clearly an old air base. I mean, you have quite a bit of base structure here coming off the end of the runways, where the hardened hangars and whatnot would have been. Now the runway here is only 2,630 feet, so it's not a really big airbase, or would have been a big airbase. It was probably used mainly, I would suspect, fighters maybe. But also the runway has been shortened, so there's the actual length of your runway, but that is what it has been shortened to. So that's interesting. Interesting place anyways. So that's gonna be it for Kalinka. Check out the last one. And finally, we're going to take a look at Chikalovsky Air Base. And this is going to be UUMU. This particular air base is located near Moscow. It is still being used as of today. Alright, so you have two runways here. You have one 9,842 foot runway and another that is 11,933 feet of runway. And it base itself takes up quite a bit of space. This location has been in use since 1929 and is still in use today by Russia's military. But you can see like all the structures out over here. Man, there is just so much to this place. You even have, looks like rail that comes through and goes right into the right into the airport. That's really interesting. Lots to see here. And being that it is still operating, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot in the way of abandonment here. And given that it's close proximity to Moscow, I'm sure they keep this well taken care of. But that's going to do it for this video, I think. I hope you all enjoyed it. And I look forward to doing the next one. Thank you all for watching. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful